Have you ever wondered that while countless people eagerly await the debut of the manned stealth bomber codenamed H-20, the platform truly set to define the rules of future aerial warfare, it has already completed several takeoffs and landings on its own at a secret base in the West. Recently, the military enthusiast community has been abuzz over a few photos from an extremely reliable source, high-resolution images captured on May 14, 2025, by the globally renowned remote sensing satellite company Planet Labs, which inadvertently revealed a massive flying wing aircraft on the runway at the Malan Air Base in Xinjiang. The fundamental reason for the shock among intelligence agencies and military analysts worldwide lies in its size. Through rigorous pixel-by-pixel analysis of the satellite imagery, observers unanimously confirmed that this mysterious aircraft has a wingspan of approximately 42 meters and a fuselage length of 23 to 24 meters, placing it directly in the same size class as the US-made B-21 Raider. The B-21 stealth bomber, which the US is currently pushing forward with full force, has a publicly stated wingspan of approximately 41 meters but is noticeably shorter in fuselage length. This implies that a large unmanned aerial vehicle, provisionally designated as the GJX, may surpass the US next-generation bomber in terms of internal volume and design potential. The scrutiny of details does not stop there. When analyzing the placement of this massive aircraft at the Malan base, the underlying military implications are truly chilling. Within professional intelligence circles, the Malan base in Xinjiang holds a completely different definition. It is by no means an ordinary military airfield, but rather China's primary testing and evaluation hub for high-risk, top-secret unmanned combat systems. A review of past reports reveals that nearly all of the most threatening stealth unmanned platforms, such as the Attack 11, which has already entered operational deployment, have left traces of their development and testing here. Consequently, the location of this flying wing aircraft automatically rules out one possibility: a manned strategic bomber would never appear at such a dedicated unmanned combat testing site. This leads to a definitive preliminary conclusion: the domestically produced large stealth bomber you've been anticipating, the one meant to rival the B-2 Spirit, likely already exists. However, its final form completely overturns conventional Cold War-era assumptions. It is a thoroughly unmanned platform. Why is the flying wing configuration the hallmark of stealth bombers? The reason the B-2 has been able to carry out top-tier penetration missions for 3 decades is precisely due to its design, which eliminates all vertical tail surfaces. By using smooth surfaces to deflect radar beams away from the target, it reduces the radar cross-section to an almost unbelievable degree. However, in its original design, the B-2, as a manned platform, allocated significant structural space to the pilot's cockpit, complex life support systems, ejection seats, and associated sensors. These systems, known as dead weight, were completely eliminated during the transition to an unmanned configuration. Under the GJX concept, the length previously occupied by the cockpit and oxygen tanks has been fully freed up. The fuselage is longer than that of the B-21, meaning the internal weapons bay offers substantial longitudinal space, enough to accommodate hypersonic missiles of considerable size. In the field of military aviation, adapting internal weapons bays to accommodate hypersonic weapons is an extremely challenging engineering problem. Take the United States as an example. The B-21, notorious for its reduced dimensions, has clearly encountered a volume bottleneck in its bomb bay when integrating next-generation large-caliber munitions. Meanwhile, the most iconic AGM-183 hypersonic air-launched rapid response weapon was abandoned by the U.S. Air Force in 2023 due to frequent technical issues and failed tests. In contrast, reports indicate that the GJX's inherent volume advantage makes it highly likely that it was designed from the outset to carry hypersonic weapons with a double-cone configuration, or similar large cruise missiles. This instantly widens the gap in strike chain integrity. Now let's look at the range data. In aeronautical engineering, fuel efficiency determines the combat radius. Since all crew support systems have been eliminated, the drone's fuel tanks can be maximized at the same takeoff weight. Even the space originally intended for the cockpit is used for fuel storage. The GJX features a wingspan of around 40 meters and an extremely high aspect ratio, with a glide ratio, or lift-to-drag ratio, that performs exceptionally well in a flying wing configuration. Based on comprehensive analysis, the combat radius of this unmanned platform is highly likely to exceed the 6,000-kilometer threshold. If this assessment holds true, and when combined with in-flight refueling from aircraft like the Y-20, the effective deterrence radius could easily extend to 8,000 kilometers or even further. Within this operational radius, Guam and Hawaii would no longer serve as security barriers, even Alaska, and certain peripheral strategic points deep within the Pacific would fall within the scope of its firepower. Many have asked where the H-20 is, but in strict terms, the designation, H-20, likely does not refer to a single, definitively defined piece of equipment. From a strategic planning perspective, this designation appears more as a generic term for a top-level design standard, and the drone emerging from Malan is highly likely to be a cost-effective precursor solution that meets that standard. Its positioning precisely targets the niche occupied by the U.S. Air Force's B-21 and B-2, but it does so as an unmanned, low-cost, and high-availability platform. A simple comparison of cost-effectiveness reveals the formidable nature of this approach. A single B-2 costs as much as $2.4 billion, excluding R&D expenses, and the annual costs for maintenance and stealth coating upkeep are astronomical. When drones execute high-risk penetration missions, the costs are extremely low, so low that they can be considered expendable. This is merely a theoretical advantage. More importantly, the technical risks are effectively isolated. Even if wreckage were captured in a high-intensity combat environment, the threat of reverse engineering is far smaller than that posed by compromising the classified cockpit of a manned platform, given the rapid iteration of its technical architecture and core algorithms. Meanwhile, those follow-on solutions that truly concentrate the most advanced intelligent algorithms and thrust capabilities, namely, the elusive manned ultra-high-value platforms, are likely to be the very entities that open Pandora's box. Now, let's analyze the delay. Why can manned bombers like the B-21 enter service on schedule, while the industry faces a long wait? The most straightforward explanation is this. Given the penetration efficiency of modern air defense systems, is it truly necessary to take a design detour just for a single, expensive, and low production volume manned platform? Consider the B-2's operational scenario. If a single tactical mission requires deploying 7 B-2s, the Air Force must dispatch an equally large formation of refueling aircraft to ensure flight path safety and mid-air refueling, and may even need to provide escort fighters for the refueling aircraft. In this ultra-long-range relay, coordinating the flight paths of dozens or even hundreds of aircraft in the sky is a nightmare in itself. In contrast, relying on highly automated unmanned platforms is far simpler. Not only does it save enormous costs, but it also completely eliminates the political pressure caused by human casualties. This background helps explain the B-21's somewhat awkward situation today. Bomber planners initially favored a low-cost B-2, hoping to keep the unit procurement cost at around $500 million to $600 million, thereby enabling the mass production of over 100 or even 200 aircraft to replace aging models. However, as modern stealth drone swarms and the manned commanded unmanned warfare concept were increasingly revealed through intelligence networks, the B-21 design team gradually realized they had strayed from the right path. Ultimately, not only did the B-21 fail to significantly reduce costs, but it also ended up being a full size smaller than the B-2, with a takeoff weight over 18 tons lighter, forcing compromises on the two cornerstone performance metrics, range and payload capacity. Today's warfare has undergone a profound restructuring of its underlying logic. Loyal wingmen, like the GJ-11, have long been at the forefront. Under the concept of coordinated operations, the J-20 can serve as a tactical node, coordinating formations of GJ-11s or even GJ-Xs, with manned platforms issuing commands, and unmanned platforms executing penetration strikes. The skies of the future belong to those who abandon cockpits, unleash potential, and let algorithms dominate the battlefield. It is time to turn the page on the Cold War bomber philosophy.